Hello everyone, welcome to mentorbuddy.com. This is your mentor Gurvansh, and today we are going to look for the data structures in Python programming language. Now guys, the three most prominent data structures in Python programming language you will hear about is list, tuple and string. So let's first get started with the list data structure. So for a list data structure is said as the collection of any type of data. So list data structure again is a collection of any kind of data. Means it is a complex data structure which can store any different type of variables, different type of data types in a single place, any kind of data. Now a list in Python is represented using the square brackets. It is represented by using the square brackets. Now you might be confused about these square brackets in other programming languages like C, C++, Java. The square brackets are used to represent a array in which we can save only a single type of data, but list in Pythons are different. You can save any kind of data. There is one more term about lists, is that lists are also known as the mutable data structures. Mutable data structures, meaning that you can alter an already created list. Even let's say you have a list created previously, if you want to change the list, change the element of list anytime, you can do it simply using some functions, some inbuilt Python list attributes. You can use them and change the particular list data structure. Now mutable means a data structure which can be altered even after it is created. So I think this introductory part is good. Let's get started to the programming part and let's get to know our list well. So when I say that list is represented using a square bracket, you can write lst1. Here when you put this, a normal empty list will be created. Now how do you populate this list? To populate this list, you can either take input from the user or you can directly give input yourself. Now let's first give the inputs on our own. So here you can write like 12, 34, 56, 7, 87, 45, 7, 67, 23, and then this list will be created. Now let's print our list1, lst1, then print the type of lst1, print type of lst1, type lst1. Now guys, this particular thing is now a list represented by square bracket getting all the numbers. Now in the definition I have said that it is a collection of different kind of data or any kind of data. So let me give you an example for that also. So I have over here ls2 is equal to let's first give a value like sky. Let's give a float value 45.6. Then let's give another value true, which is a boolean type. So I'm trying to give all the values at the same time, means all the data structures which we have. So till now in this particular list I have just given a word, a character, string type input, a float type input, a boolean type input and a integer type input. We have one more type of input which is the complex type. So let's give a complex type input. So here I'm going to write 3 or 5 plus 3j. Again, if I just simply print it, print ls2 and print the type of ls2, type of lst2. Let's run it. So it will again give you a type is list and all the data structures are created and the complex data structure is saved in small brackets. Now here guys, once let's say you have created a list, how you are going to access the element of a list. So let's say you want to access some of the elements of the list or one element of a list particularly. So accessing a list, accessing the elements of a list is done with the help of index numbers. Index numbers. By default, the index number of the first element in a list in any data structure in Python, any data structure in Python is 0. By default, the index number of first element in any data structure in Python is 0. So here also our list is a data structure. So what will be the index number of sky, which is the first element? 0. And what will be the last index number of the last value will be length minus 1. So before we do the accessing, now this whole process is known as slicing. This process is known as slicing, where you are accessing the elements of a list. Now let's first see some default functions in Python which can help to solve certain problems. So few of these functions I wanted to teach you about are max function, which returns the maximum of a data structure, returns the maximum value in a data structure. Now keep this in mind, this particular function will only work with the data structure having the similar data type. The reason is that you cannot compare sky with true, or you cannot compare any other values with a complex data type, right? So this max function, this particular min function, or sum function, all of these functions will only work on the data structures having the same data type, because you can only compare numeric with numeric. You cannot compare numeric with boolean. At the same time, you cannot compare a whole number with a complex number, right? So here is the same reason. So max, min, sum returns the maximum value, minimum value, and the sum of a data structure respectively, but work on a similar data type. After this, we have the length function. Length returns the length of length of the mentioned data structure. Okay, here now let's work with these functions first. So first of all, let me show you the length function. So I'm going to write length print length of lst1, length of lst1. So then we can do the same thing with our lst2, print length of lst2. When I run this, you will get length of lst1 is 7 and length of lst2 is 5. Now let's try our max minimum functions. Okay, so first of all, I'm trying print maximum in lst1 print minimum of lst1 print sum of lst1. Now after this, I will do the same thing with lst2 in the next cell. So here I will run it. So maximum of lst1 is 87, minimum of lst1 is 12, and sum of the elements of lst1 is 324. Now let's try to do the same thing with lst2. So maximum of lst2. If you write, you will get an error. Why you are getting an error? Because it is saying that the comparison sign greater than or smaller to is not supported between the instances of float and string data structures, because we have a different complex data structure over here. We have sky and 45.6. How can you compare a sky, a character value, a string value sky, with 45.6, which is a float value? So this is the error which I was talking about earlier, that when you apply maximum, minimum, and sum function, you have to keep in mind that the data structure contains the similar type of data. Only then these functions will work. Okay, let's get back to our slicing of data structures. So slicing Slicing is a very powerful technique. Here, this slicing can be used on almost every data structure to get the elements, to access the elements. First, most basic of slicing is that you simply mention the index number of the element you want. So let's say the element you want is the third element or the fourth element or the fifth element. You can simply write the index of that particular element. So let's say you want a third element. For the third element of a list, what will be the index of it? 3 minus 1. It is always the element number minus 1. So here let's say LST, I want the first element of LST1. Okay, so I'm taking the first element of LST1, so I will write print. I just want to print the first element, so I'm going to write LST1. Now to access the index number, to access the element, we put the index number in square bracket. To access the index numbers, or to access the elements, we put the to access the elements we put the index numbers in the square brackets. Now these square brackets are different. Okay, so when I access the first element, I will put 1 minus 1 is 0. So if I run this cell now, I will get 12, which is the first element. So if I want to print the fifth element, let's say LST1, a fifth element, so fifth element will be 5 minus 1, 4. If I run it, I will get 45. So let's count for LST1. So it is first element, second element, third element, fourth and fifth element with the index number 4. Now let's say I want to print the sum of two elements from LST1, which is the, let's say, last element and the first element. So how will I do it? So I can write like this: print LST1, first element is 0. Let's do the sum of it, plus LST1, last element will be 7 minus 1, 6. Why 7? Because 7 is the length, so it will be 6. When you run it, you will get 12 plus 23, which is 35. So this is the answer, which now we can directly print the output, or we can simply store this output in a variable and then print that variable. So here I can do like this. So here I can write C is equal to LST0 plus LST6. Then here I can write, one second, print C. So if I run it, you will get the same answer, 35. Now this was how you access the individual elements from a list. Now what happens when you access the multiple elements from a list, right? You want multiple elements, so what you can write? Okay, to access the multiple elements, to access multiple elements from a list, we need to give the range of the index numbers. Now to give the range, we use the colon sign. Colon sign, where we give the starting index to the left side of the colon and the end index plus 1 to the right side. Why plus 1? So let's say you want to access the values from second element to sixth element. For this you will have to give the index number till 1 plus the element. So let me show you how. So let's say you want to print these elements from second element to the sixth element. So ls1, index of second element will be 1 and index of sixth element will be 6 minus 1 will be 5. Now in Python, whenever we give a range, the upper number is not included. It will always go 1 minus the upper limit you have given. So here if you write 1 to 5, which is second element to sixth element, if you run this cell, you will only get second element, third, fourth and fifth element. So this is the second element, this is the third element, fourth element and fifth element. The sixth element is not included. If you want the sixth element to be included, you need to give the index of the seventh element. To get the sixth element, it is always the 1 minus of the upper index value you have given. Now you can do, now you might be thinking, sir, what about the last element? If we want to access the last element, then what? There are two methods to do it. Okay, so there are two methods to do it. What happens, the question is what happens when we want to access the last element of a list in a range. Now there are two solutions for it. First solution is you give the plus one index number. Second is you leave the upper limit value empty. It will automatically consider that it has to go till last. So if I do like this, print, so let's say again I am putting from fourth element till the last element. So last element was 7 with index number 6, so I will put 7 here itself. Print lst1 from 3 till 7. So 7 is not there, right? If you simply count the index numbers from lst1, you will have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. 7 is not there, but still I am giving. The reason is that 7 will never be counted. It will go till 6 itself, so no error will be there. Second methodology is print lst1 3 and empty. You leave the upper limit empty, upper value empty, so it will go till last automatically without doing anything. So see, both of them have the same answer. Now here we have the starting index is 3. For the ending index, you either keep empty or you either give one extra index number. No error will be there. You can do the opposite also. So let's say you want to print from starting till fifth element. So you can write like this, lst1, either you can give from 0 till fifth element, or you can write print lst1 from 0 till fifth element. So here also both of them will give the same answer. So you can leave in the starting, so it will start from the starting itself, and it will, if you leave the right hand side empty, it will go till the last element automatically by itself. So this is how slicing works in Python. Now let's take a quick look on the different attributes you have for list in Python. Okay, so here let me give the heading list attributes of functions of list in Python. So here I'm giving an heading heading which we are working right now is functions of list in Python. Okay, so we can just directly write list functions, right? List functions. Okay, So there are many functions. I will show you some of the most important ones. First function is the append function, append. I will first of all write the names of the function we are going to talk about, then I will explain how they work and what they do. Then there is obviously clear. Then we have count, count, count. Then we have index. We have insert function. I will keep it insert after the append. Insert function. We have pop function. We have remove function. We have reverse function, and we have sort function, SORT, sort function. So these are most prominent functions of a list. Now the first function which we have over here is the index function, append function. This append function is used to add an element at the last of a list. So let's say you have already created a list, right? So okay, will add an element at the end of the list, okay. Here insert will add an element at the mentioned index number in the list. Let's take clear from here and put it somewhere down. Okay, so I will put clear over here. So I'm just trying to categorize few functions, similar type of functions I'm keeping at the same place. So in the count function, what it will do, count function will return the frequency of the mentioned element, how many times a element has occurred in the list. So let's say we have few repeating elements, so count function will tell us how many times the certain element is repeated. Then we have the index will return the index of the mentioned element, sorry. Pop function will remove the element at the mentioned index number if no index is mentioned. Okay, mentioned index number by default removes the last element. So if you do not mention any index number, it will remove the last element itself. Then we have the remove function, removes the mentioned element. So let's say sometimes you do not remember the index of an element, you can use the remove function to simply remove that element itself. What is clear? Clears all the elements, clears the list. Remove all the elements, removes all the elements from a list. Reverse will returns the reverse of a list, returns the reverse of a list. Sort will sort the list in ascending or descending order as you require. So let's get started. So first of all, I will print my ls1. So we are going to work with lst1 itself, lst1, so that you know what is happening. Okay, so when I run this lst1, we have 12, 34, 56, 87, 45, 67, 23, 7 elements. We'll start with append, insert, count, index, pop, remove, clear, reverse, sort. So clear function I will show at the end. The reason is that if you apply clear earlier itself, every element will be removed and you will be never able to perform reverse or sort. So for the clear function I will show you at the end, last. Okay, so first of all we start with append. So how do you apply the append function? So you write lst dot append. I am appending an element and that particular element will be added at the end of the list. So here let me see, I am adding 56. Here I will print lst1. So if I print lst1, it will get 56 will be added at the end. If you run this cell again, it will again work and again one more 56 will be added. Then we have the insert function. So we have lst1 dot insert. In insert you give two values. What are these two values? First you give the index number at which you want the new element, then you give the element itself. So I am writing, let's say, insert at 5, index number 5, not at 5th position, insert at 5, 56 itself. So I am just trying to populate my list with 56 so that when I apply the count function, the result will be obvious. Here let me just quickly print the lst1. Here now if you see, 56 is added at the 5th index number. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. 67 was first having the index 5 and then it is 56 is added now and all of them are shifted automatically. Here the third function is count, then I will work for the index number. So I'll write lst1 dot count. It will count the occurrence of an element, how many times the element has occurred. So you just need to mention the element and you print it. Either you print it or you save it. Print, since it is returning an integer number, you have to either save it or print it. Print 3, 56 has occurred 3 times. So if you apply the same count function on any other value, paste, let's put over here 87 and see the output. It will give you 1. And what happens if the element is not in the list itself? 100, run it, it will give you 0. That 100 is not present in the list. Next function is index function. Now what will this do? Index function will return you the index of the first occurrence of any number. It will give you the index of the first occurrence. So I will write print lst1 dot index of, if I write 56, it will give you the occurrence of the first 56 which was at the second index number 2. What happens when you try to find out the index of an element which is not present in the list? Let's try index of 100. It will give you an error that 100 is not in the list. So with this you know that the 100 which you were trying to find out is not in the list. Okay, let's try pop now. So for pop you have to mention the index number at which you want to remove a element. Now by default pop will always remove the last element. So here if I write lst1 dot pop without any value, by default I am doing print lst1. If I run it, see 56 is removed, the last 56 automatically got removed. Now here if you mention a index number, so at that index number the element will be removed. So if I write 3, then I write print lst1 at index 3, 87 was there, so 87 is removed now, right? So this is how the pop function work. For remove function it is a bit interesting. So let's say by chance you forgot the index number of the value you wanted to remove, what will happen then? So for in that case what we do, we just simply mention the element and it will remove that element. So if I write over here, let's say 56, so what it will do, if there are multiple numbers, right, if there are multiple numbers, it will remove the first occurrence. Always these functions work on the first occurrence. After this A clear function I will show at the end. As I have already told you, we have the reverse function and the sort function. So reverse function as usual will give you the complete reverse of the list. So you can write lst1 dot reverse reverse, no input is required, and just print lst1. So it will give you the reverse of a list. Now what these functions are doing, guys, these functions are altering your already created list. Append function, insert function adds the element. Count function give you the occurrence count. Index count function and index function are not altering, as obvious it is just returning a value, but pop remove will remove the element. Reverse is reversing the original list and saving in the same variable. Keep that in mind, it is altering the previously created original list. Now let's work with the sort function, lst1.sort. The sort function obviously is going to sort out my list. First let me show you. Print lst1. So if you look over here, by default the sort function gives you the ascending order, right? Okay, so here let me write a statement. So by default the sort function gives us the ascending order of a list. Now to get the descending order, we can use any of the two methodologies. First method is sort a list using sort, and then reverse it using reverse, right? Simple combination of two functions. The second, more preferred or more usable, is use the reverse parameter of the sort function. Now why I have told you the first methods, let's say at a certain instance in your coding you need the ascending order of the list to program or to solve a question, and let's say after that particular instance is done you need the descending order, then you can use the reverse function separately to get the descending order. But if you have to perform the sorting in descending order at the same time, you can use the reverse parameter. So we write lst1 dot sort. Here we have reverse function, reverse is equal to, and we write true, reverse is equal to true. This time it will give you a descending order, that yes, I want to do a reverse of the sorting, which is the descending order 67, 56, 45 and so on. So guys, these were the functions which we use on a list to alter a list, making it a mutable object. So here in this session till now we have learned how to create a list, how to perform slicing on a list, how to perform max, min, sum, length function on a list, and how to perform internal list functions to alter our already created list. This was all about the list data structure. So in the next video guys, we are going to learn about the tuple data structures and the string data structures in Python. Thank you for joining us on Mentor Buddy. Bye bye guys, take care.